Dzam jola jandalo joson dembe jingela yime yige Munjur yige namju bendave java Jesus madu jor jevege yeje malaysia Çocuğu gozun dabe je maca jola je ran dabe taşıdım Zobe janju simge do deje janju sambala dawa zunje Zero jambe gewa nan dune jan shodo ngo Beje jujin medo dan jana yende gemba ne sanje shindu Namda jinla jubarashi Renamendala Gendriya Dayame Dudjom Sanje Damje Yingo Lama Rinpoche Keno Dagi Yu Shingi Lavdo So Oni Chubi Yingi Parane Dudjom Sanje Gungi Ngawang Rasim Chugung Su Danjaba Tsawe Alameda Yu Shingi Lao Tine Ya Kunlan Tu Kene Sarana
So once again, this afternoon, please develop the motivation as Rinpoche explained this morning as you begin to listen to the teachings.
Tonight, Tandamadu Sampa Nyur Drubma, Sunday Sampa Nyur Drubma Day. Tharchin Rinpoche Sholoka Tangbudi Gunjen Longshenbe Songda Dege Chö Tamje Gunjen Niba Gunjen Jingmedengbe Song Gunjen Yapse Segre Nyingdebake De Song Singlap Chimbo Samji Mechawa Yore De Nodo Chö Lamdo Chegen Soge Kansala Tanangando Shedaba Nashin Parche De Chöba Sanji Tauken Nyunyu Chadega Yore Chö Chegen Mambu Yore De Sanji Gopan Tauken Nyunyu Yore De Karichen Re Sede De Parche Mang Cheo Parche Gawanda Shondo Re Chö Lamdo Long Togo Yomare De Yendu Parche Sewe Chedo Duna Guru Mbuchela Sawataba Gunjen Yapse Gesong De Shira Tharchin Yore
There is among the texts that you were given today, we're looking now at the one that's called The Prayer That Swiftly Fulfills All Wishes. On the page it has the page number 111. So a prayer that swiftly fulfills all wishes. This is a very holy prayer. The first 4 lines were written by the great master known as the omniscient Longchenpa. And the remaining lines of the prayer were written by another great master, Jigme Lingpa. And these two, although centuries separated their births. They're known as the father and son masters of our lineage. Now, this prayer that swiftly fulfills all wishes concerns our obstacles, the things that hinder us on the path to enlightenment. She says there's many of us who say, I'm on the path, I'm on the Buddhist path, I'm on the path to enlightenment, but there are very few of us who actually arrive at enlightenment, and why is that? And she says, well, it's because hindrances and obstacles prevent us from engaging fully in the teachings that we received. And therefore, we recite prayers such as this, blessed by the speech of such great masters as Long Chenpa and Jigme Lingpa, to help us dispel what obstacles and hindrances impede our path to enlightenment.
Did Dreba Shila Jachambu Jam Kosa Yomare, Dorje Somre, Sevo Yore, Titolo, Injitol, Jushan Yore, Titandad. That Tanan Lavanashi, Gurumbushela, Saw Tabdu, Tunja Karit, Sangoresena, Rangi, Deba, Mugu, Yeche, Dudjom, Serok, Tangi, Kyabje, Loa Meba, the Concho, Kundugandani, Gurumbuche Yimbala, Gomna Sawa Tanda, Chinab Chegre, Karisena Yeshit Sogerke, Sonyore, Rajan Lama, Peme number Gom, Chinab Tuje, Power New Yin song, the Hindu. Gurumbuche de Debe Sanje Tam, Jegi Juba, Dade Sanje Tam, Jegi Gyalsa, Maumbe Sanje Tam, Jegi Jone, then Gurumbuche Gude Lama Sung Yedam, 200 Zasung Kundu, 2 Chugu, Sung Long Ungo. Kutrugude Kusum Kundu Dene Kukendu Song Damche to Sanje de Chosum Kundu Conjo Tangen Duga Mo Tanjikden come Deda Jikden come down Jikden and Debe come Yila Dene Jamne Lord Sana Madaba Disuresana. Rinpoche
says there's not much that's needed to say as a commentary to this, to these lines of this prayer. On the one hand, in Tibetan, this was written by Long Chenpa and Jigme Lingpa. There's nothing Rinpoche says that I need to add to what they said. It's very self-evident. And you also have the words translated in English, and there's not much to add. However, once again, as we saw this morning, when we recite such a prayer, supplication, we imagine before us Guru Rinpoche, and we develop faith, devotion, trust toward Guru Rinpoche. Guru Rinpoche, who is the emanation of all Buddhas of the past, the representative of all Buddhas of the present, and the source of all Buddhas of the future. Guru Rinpoche, who is the epitome of all the 3 jewels, the 3 roots. Guru Rinpoche, his body, if we consider the 3 roots, for example, his body is the Lama. His speech is the sacred deities, the yidams. His mind is the Dakinis, these three being the three roots of Tantric Buddhism. Guru Rinpoche's mind is the body of ultimate enlightenment, the Dharmakaya. His speech is the body of enlightenment's perfect rapture, the Sambhogakaya. And his body is the manifest body of enlightenment, the Nirmanakaya. Therefore, Guru Rinpoche represents as well, embodies the three bodies of enlightenment. Further, Guru Rinpoche's mind is the Buddha. His speech is the Buddha's teachings, the Dharma. And his body is the spiritual community, the Sangha. So Guru Rinpoche as well embodies the triple gems, the three jewels. So it is with this in mind that we consider Guru Rinpoche before us, that he is our refuge, not only in this lifetime, but through all our series of lifetimes, that he is the one in whom we can take refuge in perfect trust. As Yeshe Tsogyal said, think of your own Lama in the form of Guru Rinpoche before you, and this will ensure that his blessing and empowerment is that much, compassionate activity is that much faster. So it is with this in mind that we imagine Guru Rinpoche before us as we recite the supplication.
Tana jigden nando chiba modebe tawa tawa ta chedawa no soba tenzu ko tawe ji sunrana logre jigden te cheba po yimba rabo jigden ki cheba po la kyap sona te Ninzinge yuli yulzhanga dagure, nisunzinge yudan yulzhanga dagure. Otinde, te yinbe jimzanga tene, jikten bare, pal bare, samba je bare, nyangale mande bare, korwale ndetu yomare. Tene korwe pung jamne kaze zana yang, tatul tu dore. Tene Guru Rinpoche Kyabje te towa tsanda yomare kari siddhu tsamba Guru Rinpoche siddhangate Tachin lawa nashi kusum kundu vidanyi yendu kusum ngawo di kari re siddhi sanje chogi kore sanje chogi kone takwa tambe kore takwa tamba di kari re siddhi rangi sengi ngawo Gedeme shilu te Guru Rinpoche la nisu macheba yenen dudar pambe danyi shen re. O tela ya kyapsu dhudu te tugu mare kare isen de chojen mare chunyi re, chunyi tugu mare chojen ke tugu yore.
So Guru Rinpoche is our refuge. Guru Rinpoche is an infallible refuge, a refuge that is never deceives. And Lama Tharchin Rinpoche says, in stating that, in saying that Guru Rinpoche is a refuge that never deceives, is there such a thing as a refuge that does deceive? And he says, yeah, there's lots. Throughout this world, we can find many sources of refuge, places of refuge that will inevitably deceive us. For example, if we take refuge in a worldly god that we consider to be the creator of this world, such a god is the chief or the Lord of dualistic phenomena, there being a creator and the world that is created. And this kind of refuge will inevitably be deceptive. In the same way, any of the views that arise from a dualistic mind, such as nihilistic view, eternalistic view, or any of the outwardly oriented religions of this world, they as well will prove to be deceptive. And apart from them, of course, there are many things, countless numbers of things in this world that we can consider to be our refuge, but which will inevitably deceive us. Now, Guru Rinpoche, we say, is a refuge that will never disappoint, that will never prove deceptive. The reason for this is that, as we said, Guru Rinpoche represents the union of the three bodies of enlightenment, and the essence of these three bodies is the body of ultimate enlightenment, the Dharmakaya. Now this Dharmakaya is in fact the essence of our own mind. And so we take refuge in Guru Rinpoche, inseparable from this essence of our own mind, the Dharmakaya, which is permanent and sacred essence of our own mind. And it is this, then, the fact that Guru Rinpoche and the nature of our own minds, or the essence of our own minds, are inseparable. It is this that allows us to say that that this source of refuge is infallible and will never deceive us.
Guru Rinpoche dang rangi gunji dewa shego yinbo shukzu de chojen gyudang kyanla dene choba tende mare chojen ge nawa tam dene jigdogo yore tenba yo mare Guru Rinpoche dang rangi semgi tejinyi yer machiba dāngi te kārir se na chūni samjō dāng chāwe yiru yendu tila gyūla tōyō mare, kēnla tōyō mare, gyū kēn kāngla yā māte bō rāngzhūnga sāngi yinba yuntsāng tēne tēne loa tsāna yō mare.
Guru Rinpoche then is inseparable with this essence of our own mind. Now this is the nature of reality, as opposed to what is objective phenomena. Everything within the objective world, everything, all phenomena, are the result of the coming together of causes, conditions, and these causes and conditions come together and then part. So that there is, so anything within this phenomenal world cannot be a refuge. Guru Rinpoche is one with this primordial, abiding nature of our intrinsic enlightenment. And because this does not depend, this intrinsic nature, this nature of reality does not depend upon causes, conditions, anything coming together, and so this is the primordial nature, and it is a self-manifest enlightenment, which is not dependent on anything else for its production. This is self-manifest enlightenment. Therefore, Guru Rinpoche is infallible or will not prove to be deceptive.
What that Jamnet Yimbala Yichego Yore Jamnet the Loa Meva Rede Rangi Semba Pesum Da Yini da Pesum Yona the Devatigi Tetabu Pesum Changi Devatigi Guru Tudam Yishiki due to good to the mother. The Guru did that about this some Sanjay Tamjin doing all red tene, Nandula Simjan Tamjin Morigbe, using books Tim Debate, then Guru Buchiki to them give good and round like Chinlapsi talks on her. Then a Chinlap top of Teletene, then 대식이 뭐 감대 뭐도 세트 그래 어디 대세버 집에 탑 가리 요래서나 탑시에 요 말에 탑시에 시제기 새로 버튼 쪽에야 구르그 도담 기고야게 탑지 라기를 버선 안에 라탑이 요 말에 가리서나 최제 노보 세마쟁게 유라 따지 제대베 로티게 세마단 차외 춘이 살았잖아 마바투 투베요 말에 어때 인도다 때도 춘이 그거로 렉토버드 카리 렉토 그래 세나 로엄나 봐니 태솜단 차대바 지기 선 세직바 밀로에 짬네 근데 Kyabje Chikso Guru Bushi Yimbala Lata Shia Sagan Chigi Tena Sawatana Guru Tuji Kutubi Yore.
So we regard Guru Rinpoche with faith. We regard Guru Rinpoche with faith that is free from any doubt, which is wholehearted, which is not of two minds. And it is this faith, this devotion, this trust that we bring to our source of refuge that draws the wisdom blessing of Guru Rinpoche. Now all of us as ordinary sentient beings are caught within the darkness of our own lack of recognition of awareness. And how is it that we are to draw the blessings of Guru Rinpoche in order to be able to become free from this enclosure, this lack of recognition? If it were possible to do so, Western scientists would have figured out ways of manipulating phenomena, manipulating material to effect such a transformation, to somehow allow us to wake up to our enlightened nature. This is what has happened. This is what happens when we receive Guru Rinpoche's blessing. We are able to wake up to this primordial enlightenment, which is our nature. However, it is not possible for a mind which is manipulating outward phenomena, manipulating something which is material, which is involved in the objective world, to effect that type of awakening. It is when we approach Guru Rinpoche without doubt, with faith, wholeheartedly, not being of two minds, that we're able to draw Guru Rinpoche's wisdom blessings to us, and it is the force of these blessings that help us awake from this lack of recognition of our own nature.
Nina Guru Rinpoche Sombare Lo Tesum Dan Chalna Sampa Nyur 이 캐시기 때문에 신랍 조우송 직단계 자와 카드 제나 삼바체 니 제바치기 직전에 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 된 루비 연도 직전에 루비 말에 삼바게 이익수 로 쟁이바되게 직단계 자와양 루트고 말해서 산제 상한다 칸에도 뜻되는 직단계 자와 인서어때야 루트고 말해서 다이 캐시기 대바 지금이나 근데 되게 신압주고 그래서
Rinpoche said that it was impossible to, he put it in a positive sense, without doubt, without being of two minds, you will accomplish your goals. And with the faith that asks Guru Rinpoche to be aware of you, to know you, his blessings will enter you. Now, for the first part of that quote, he commented that even when we do worldly work, if we think, maybe I'll do this, maybe I'll do that, maybe I'm going to succeed, maybe I'm not going to succeed, etc., when we allow our minds to fill with doubts, to be of two minds about what we're doing, we won't accomplish even the temporary work that we want to do in this world, let alone reach paths and stages of awakening. And in the same way, when we are entirely devoted and have this faith that is asking Guru Rinpoche to be aware of us in any circumstance, it is this giving over ourselves, this surrender to Guru Rinpoche that allows his blessings to enter us.
Guru Rinpoche the no tsenyi bate kap tsenyi ge sambu java nashin re sombre kap tse yona parche jube kap yomare se ni yo tsadu tena parche madoshen jube tab yomare parche le troge tab yomare.
A great master of the 19th century, Paltar Rinpoche, said that to have doubts, to entertain doubts, to be of two minds about things is like trying to sew with a needle that has 2 points. When a needle has 1 point, it can do what it is intended to do. However, with 2 points, a needle is unusable. In the same way, when we entertain doubts, we cannot accomplish what we set out to do.
Dunje namkalam dandi sunde ge tsegdil sunde ge elma ho su ke sa tena dombola kunga yeshe dunje truvela ranjun chembo tena yoyune kandu trembon chila sawan des tamboti ten kebe sudo chene de kunkelon chembe sung.
If we look at this prayer that swiftly fulfills all wishes, the first 4 lines, in the heart of a blossoming lotus upon the waters of a lake, you're the spontaneously accomplished wisdom, the embodiment of the 5 Buddha families. O great self-existing Pema Yabyum, surrounded by clouds of Dakinis, to you we pray. These 4 lines describe what it is that we imagine before us.
Tene Sampa Nyur Drubma chingi lop sede Sampa Drub sede nado jikdange Sampa Nyitsewa Drubya tede kede mare dan Guru Bushilo sawa tana nada ngu yakwaji rama yunge tene Kamba Saba ji rama yunge tene Chuji Zengbu ji rama yunge tene tunda mo chuji zingbu da tene tunda ge ngobo change la ngadi Sampa Nyur Tati guru mushin rupa shos sena te malam te nitse ore tanda chenpo yamare Drubma yam tanda yamare te Sampa te yang taba namjin sanje ji kopan taba te rangi dapa tsolo chene te chena te shorjunge tenen jikdenge tanda yande pakwe no dini singati te shola yunga yore te cho tsolo druna tena tumon de shola drup to gure tege Sampa jachenpo chene sawatabdi tibdabade Sampa.
So the last line here on this page is, grant your blessings so that our wishes be quickly fulfilled. Now, when we speak about fulfilling wishes, there's so many things that you could wish for, aren't there? And she says, if you're thinking of getting money, a new house, a pool for your house, all those things, those wishes, yes, they're wishes, but they're not very meaningful in the long term. And it's not really certain whether you're going to accomplish your wishes by reciting this prayer or not when you have those things in mind. Such wishes are sort of temporary, not very meaningful, and where instead you should put your attention is your wish for the long term. That is to say, to attain the state of full and complete enlightenment. This is the wish, this is the main wish, the main desire that you should hold in your mind. And when you turn to Guru Rinpoche with this wish, this is wishing for supreme or sublime accomplishment. And with this kind of wish, which is the sincere one that you're holding, you'll accomplish other goals that are more common or mundane at the same time. But really the one that you must hold the most dearly as you address your prayer to Guru Rinpoche is the wish for full and complete enlightenment.
Goda te Sampa de pena chashana thardu ki Sampa de Truthful tene jikden ki teki Avert Nuclear War sedengti shorla drupto yore odati yindu Guru Rinpoche ki shargi shebare dunga nyingma ki simjang ki dunga de mumba tubo tabo chik yinba kaba nga Guru peme tuje dan shilab de dawe we tabo mumba chezam tu po yoba dazam dun dawe we de sal dun dowe kyan shiga yore odene re sangye de sangye re la chene re the sun give it this chanju to show the two give it this malamgi two chijong tane chijong the tan yamare two drama da tane then the two sun give the two drama da nga yore tana cha shana jigden mombe dunga the server cho paban jamba yangi two give at the sherab chambab na yada tene jikden sende nawa numru de dewa changi shingham de keve neba pozun soba terto ge gumbo pa do me tabata simjenge digdup tabala shodu nawa Sanjay Rikchi Dani, Dorje Semba Tabata, the Sanjay Rege, Molong two, Chanju Chöd two, Kedan Ramada Tene, Nuban Ramada Yore. The Guru Rinpoche Tamo Mayimba Kari residue, do you make Nima, do Kaze, Semjela Dunga Kaze, Manaya, Guru Rinpoche Chilabit has something to buy your bed. Semjeng Nyumba Kaze, Rapoyaba, the Tamje La Nishig Nawa Sebe, Chilab the Guru Rinpoche, Dani Chenre. What did you do? Nyima Rawa Jabala, and Guru Rinpoche Chenante, Sanjay Shende, Keber the Gubare.
So it is said that when we accomplish our ultimate goal, there are many goals that we will accomplish at the same time that will be accomplished along with that final goal. For example, when we wish for perfect enlightenment, these 7 exalted forms of wealth, for example, are accomplished along with them. Now, Guru Rinpoche himself has promised that in the darkest time, however hard life becomes in this world, however dark is the time in which sentient beings live in this world, however much the decline of the world continues, it's as if the world becomes darker and darker. His presence in the world, the moon of his presence in the world, will become that much brighter as the world becomes darker. His illumination in this world will become that much stronger. Now, all Buddhas develop intention to help sentient beings in different ways. This is their enlightened activity. And they make aspirations, and they display their different powers in relation according to those aspirations. So, for example, the Buddha Manjusri Manjusri's activity is in relation to the ignorance of sentient beings. Manjusri brings to sentient beings transcendent knowledge, wisdom, in order to clear away the beings' ignorance. And in the same way, the Buddha Limitless Light, Amitabha, presents himself as the Buddha who allows sentient beings, after their life is spent, to enter into the Pure Land of great bliss. And the Buddha Vajrasattva, who is the chief of all families of enlightenment, is particularly effective in clearing away all of the bad, negative acts and obscurations of sentient beings. So in the same way, each Buddha and Bodhisattva has an activity that corresponds to their aspirations to help sentient beings. And so Guru Rinpoche's aspiration was particularly oriented toward the beings of a very dark time of decline within this world. So however strong are the negative emotions of sentient beings, however strong their suffering, Guru Rinpoche's presence, his wisdom and his compassion will be that much more powerful.
Ling Jebe, Namin to Jebe, Nadan Parche, Mountro Muge Fo. Kyosha Chamber Mola Sejebe, Shajin Hinakulo Orgyen Jazz. Songati Dandangenge, number gitu kene ne dan parche dan machu dan muge la sowe jigdenge donga khadu je yobate tamje guru mushege dorje sungi sharji jeyore degi donga sharyum be kabla nga yila chamba samjege denge jobor chedo sone dorje 타스기 시작이 시작을 디샤시 산제기 투 유골고 말에 산제라 투가 나저게 직단게 셈나지 어 메디 제손도 세야다한테 잔이요 말에 근데 예마야 간두체는 꿀고 요래서나 꿀고야기 짠데 나저게 대발라 폰유리 좀 naming lalo 어떤 구르부체 삼라 참 메토베 갱게 근데 샤유데 케지 마지 참 투나야 구르게 신랍데 때마타고는 죽도 여러 때 송바레스.
And so on page, what is here, page 112, as a result of our negative actions, whenever we suffer from illness, malevolent spirits and obstacles, warfare and violence, famine and starvation, then remember your promise, and simply to think of you will immediately consume all such suffering. We implore you from the depths of our hearts, O Lord of Orgyen. So this describes then our negative acts that produce the illness, spirits, obstacles, etc. And this corresponds to the promise that Guru Rinpoche made, his final promise to his disciples, that just to bring Guru Rinpoche to mind would consume or would dispel all such suffering. Now, we have here that we're asking Guru Rinpoche to remember his promise, and Lama Tharchin says this isn't really like we're not talking to an ordinary sentient being here. We're not having to remind, look, you forgot something. We're not having to remind Guru Rinpoche. In fact, it's somewhat the opposite. We're bringing to mind Guru Rinpoche's promise. We, in our distraction, in our ignorance, in our lack of recognition, we do not bring Guru Rinpoche clearly to mind. And it is that moment of bringing Guru Rinpoche to mind, bringing his promise to our mind, that our minds meet. And so this is why we say here, remember your promise, but this is actually to bring our minds to this true and unchanging promise that Guru Rinpoche said, that we needed to bring our minds to him, and that our suffering and our obstacles would be cleared away.
Kyabje Dudjom Rinpoche sungshila Guru Rinpoche saw David Sikjigananga Tisung Yore. Nge Mugu ji Tamja Mashona Jeke ji Tuji Tonya Matson. Noranso gi Mugu Tem Sing Samsam Ya Kang, Yang said the Samsam Ma Cha Trigan Double. Cha Debal and Trigan Cha Masona Guru Tuji Lugares and the Sally
His Holiness Dudjom Rinpoche wrote in one prayer to Guru Rinpoche, as long as our faith is unchanging, as long as it isn't sometimes strong, sometimes weak, as long as our faith is strong and unchanging, your compassion, your blessings and compassion are always present and never deceive us.
What the Tibetan Tashashi the Nina Kuba Yins, Sonia the Tandate, Sampa Nyur Drubma Chingelo. That the Tabugi Ned and Danda Marhu the Mugela Soba Mindeve Yensete Shine Shine Time Kandachilan Debetana so Tati Mindeve Ken Shivala Sawatapare Tati Dudan Drubala Sawatapere Bedan Surum Tangla Kombadan Tube Yuro Chirio Mosashi Shira Pusum Soba Nordumbo Semjen Kunji Jula Ranshun and Juden Digi Dember Unjin Thus that Tajino with the Gajen Dobala Sawata, Tandi Tungan Rubala Sawata.
So once again we say, grant your blessings so that our wishes be quickly fulfilled. And to this point, in this prayer, we've described those unconducive obstacles and hindrances to our spiritual practice. And from this point on, we describe things which are conducive to our practice, to our experience, and to practice devotion, discipline, and generosity, to liberate the mind through hearing the Dharma, to have dignity, self-control, and knowledge. Like these seven noble human qualities, and this is what I translated just a few minutes ago as the seven forms of wealth. She described these as being, when we set our minds upon full and complete enlightenment, these are the seven forms of wealth that we accomplish along with that main goal that we set in our minds. So we ask Rinpoche, make these seven noble human qualities penetrate the minds of all sentient beings and so bring peace and happiness to the world. So once again, these are things which are conducive to our spiritual practice, conducive to our attainment of enlightenment.
Me chu shensen lam chang ngin jigwa chenpo da an te da tam ji chen di pa che da tene tse chima la tse yi pandar tu we ne ga tse di gi pandar tu sona ya pardo da tse chima da du sun gyunche me ba du sun du me gyunche me ba du kundu tena guru Rinpoche resa kyamne ten guru Rinpoche mado mes te loda che tuje songshin guru Orgyen Sampa Nyur Drubma chingi lo te kansa rerek no ke donge la shiva sawata bari dichingi la sawata bari.
And so the last part of the prayer is a prayer that relates to an individual's own wishes for protection or for refuge from Guru Rinpoche. So when oppressed by illness, suffering, and unwanted circumstances, pray to harm and obstruction from negativity and demonic forces, threatened by fire, water, and journeys of great danger. Now these are things that appear within this lifetime, and also at the end of our lives, when this life is spent and death arrives. And then it's translated here at all these times, and this refers to any circumstance during this lifetime, any circumstance in the intermediate state, after death and before the next life, and also in the next life. Rinpoche says it refers to past, present, future, and any timeless state. At all these times, there is nowhere to turn except to Guru Rinpoche, and we turn our minds, we have nowhere to turn except to you. Care for us with your great compassion, O great Orgyen Guru. We turn at all times to Guru Rinpoche for refuge.
Dorje sung chilap chente lawal ye chade dreba jab machine kenge dreba jab de yar ndo mar dug ndo re Sik Nayam Ji Tanji Dombo Drips, Sik Nayam Tandame Demegi Sik Mambo Java Jabdu, Tan Tambagi, Tana Seng Dong Lama Sik Nayam, Tandame Sik Mang Dradu, Tandagi Dombo the Drip Road, Matamba Chadu. Java Jab Shenga, Jama Yawa, Java Jab Machine, Jabdu, Yar and Roya, Sala Durdo.
She says that's probably enough. He says I probably said enough about this prayer. This is a prayer of Vajra's speech of great masters and has great blessing. And to talk a lot about it tends to make things worse than make things better. If somebody who knew how to comment upon such words were to give you a commentary, that would really be helpful, but in the absence of that, it's a little bit like the leaves of a tree blocking the view of the central trunk of the tree. She says, when I talk a lot, it's you don't see the real true nature of this prayer. So he says that's leave it at that.
Oh, and that didn't remember she. Not a pollution, that's all. I have other jobs. My boss, Shepherd, he's really bad slave driver. Also, he asked me, say some, and lion face Dakini. Oh, this is. First, I will tell you some stories. Then we can go to the text. The Lama translate. Lion-faced Dakini or Seng Dong T'hal. Her main Buddha activity is a specialty is in order to remove or avoiding from some other beings negative energy can have a penetration, and her activities specialty for that. For example, like in India, when Buddha's teaching doctrine exists in India at that time, non-Buddhist and Buddhist, they like arguing and fighting, such as like Nalanda University in India. That's the main Buddhist center. Then they have a rule, they can debate who will win debate, and that can take over that center. Then they have having difficult time then they debate. Buddhist scholars, they win But non-Buddhists, they said now debating by word that but we have to compare with the power now. Then they have a powerful they're flying in the sky, non-Buddhist. Then that time, and the lion-faced Dakini appears. They're sending lightning, sent into lightning, Buddhist scholar. Then a lion-faced Dakini, a lightning, and she rubbed on her finger and throw back, like that kind of. Then power were also Buddhist win in India, and the same way in Tibet, and Dharma and burn religions. The original native lineages burn in Tibet. That time happening similar, but when the Yeshitsoya manifest the form of a lion-faced Dakini, did the same things, and the same way. And today is with holiday for talking obstacle day, and lion-faced Dakini also practice is very suitable removing obstacle for the generally country and generally for the world, and especially where we live, this country. And among the most special, important one is the individual path to enlightenment, any kind of outer, inner obstacle comes. Then these deities are so powerful, then you can do this practice, can be helpful. I will give you alone the Seng Dong T'hal Deb Jinjimne Kejirani Kandroma. Then dila rani kajiki chula nyadang tsudu Kandroma Seng Dong T'hal Deb Salta. Then take it to nga ye chengwa le was trowa do it gone nga cheng le was may tsasa tabu chansha tabu some you make up a yishige the nga ke chengwa le was trodu to niche there the yishi tsum yore and yishige nyamomba sector yore nyamomba sector the nyamomba le kebe tene ne the parche abordo parove paroli cheme badon chema kan tamje sector yore tig ngo de karesena paroli chema de range dancing rodale keba yindu dadun zimbate was to ta tin na ge tsaga ge megas yishig megas section tin the mariba the mova the sendo this is a nyom ba jedu shidon sendo this says had tin tanda geri tanda geju sendo re tin tambe shiwa de chayong
So in this text on page 1 we see, written in the translation, instantly I rise as the lion-faced Dakini, very clearly visualized form of Seng Dong T'hal in English is lion-faced Dakini. And in my heart is the mantra that emanates lights. And these lights annihilate all demons, injurers, and evil causers without exception. We imagine ourselves as the lion-faced Dakini, and at our hearts there's the mantra of the Dakini, which radiates light. Now, this light takes the form of sparks of fire and of weapons. Now, the meaning of this is that this fire and weapons annihilate our ignorance, our lack of recognition of awareness. It is this ignorance and lack of recognition of awareness that is the source of our 84,000, what we call the 84,000 afflictive emotions. And if we are to confront and truly annihilate or pacify all the demons or all those things that we see as injuring us or as challenging us, when we do away with the lack of recognition of awareness, we do away with all of these 84,000 afflictive emotions. And when we have done away with these afflictive emotions, this pacifies instantly what we call the 1,080 negative influences or demons, or those which cause us injury or harm. So it is really to the wisdom sparks and the wisdom light and weapons that originate from this mantra at our heart. It is this that clears away the source of all of our both inner obstacles and outer obstacles, that is to say our lack of recognition of awareness.
Aga samara shandara samara ya pe seyade nagur de nagur de pa masu niba chimbo yore tene de sa chade tene range langwa yebate namkha ta yamba sanyi ge phardo nangshin sibe ngunzing ge ruja 탕제 타게 둘둘라네 깨와메베 인수 바버삼네 드네 바바다버 lakpaye namka 나서 진짜 남산이 갔다면데 드네 강가 뜨지는 좀
And so with that visualization in mind, that we are doing away with this major demon, which is our own clinging to a self as being real or substantial, what we call Rudra. In doing away with this Rudra, we will immediately pacify all inner and outer obstacles. We recite this mantra. Rinpoche comments that there are some mantras that you can give an explanation for and others which you cannot. Some mantras which have meaning in one language or another, and those which are just sounds which have in themselves power. And these mantras that are just a collection of sounds which have specific power are what are called wild mantras. And this is one of them. And so there's nothing to be said about the meaning of the mantra. It is just an extremely powerful mantra of sounds. And as we recite, after having recited this mantra as many times as we wish, we turn to page 2, and before we recite this invocation, we do a visualization, or as we recite this, we do a visualization that our right hand is space, and our left hand is the earth, and between them, all of the emanations or the manifestations of this demon of Rudra that is clinging to self as being substantial. All these demons that appear within all existence are crushed between our right and our left palms as we recite this invocation.
We can do it. Practice together. Dorje malu tsaje gyur aga samaraza shandara samaraya pe aga samaraza shandara samaraya aga samaraza shandara samaraya pe aga samaraza shandara samaraya pe aga samaraza shandara samaraya aga samaraza shandara samaraya pe 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 aga samaraza shandara samaraya aga samaraza shandara samaraya be namo Dzam Lama Yidan La Kandun Dudjom Yin Demba Jimbu Jela Chega Buga Bedon So Midun Chache Nyamga Gun Dan Orgyen Jalanjo Nubur Jebe Jishime Bando Dorje Namo Dzam Lama Yidan La Kandun Dudjom Yin Demba Jimbu Jela Chega Buga Bedon So Midun Chache Nyamga Gun Dan Orgyen Jalanjo Nubur Jebe Dudjom Dengunjo Jishime Bando Dorje Namo Dzam Lama Yidan Kandu dundu dhamo ye demba jembe chanagi cheka boga bada midun chachi nyamga gun dawar jebe dhalanjo nubur jebe duda jime dendu jo jishime do gyurje chomu shenga nube du chanju drube paju Dorje malu Tharchin samde yijin roba last another Shilol Dorje the Riwo Sang Chöd Dango Riwo Sang Chöd is the Tsawe Dudjom Terchen Seer con Beyu Bebe Yu Guru Buchege Maungba Tama Lalo 기 템바 식로베 까울라 되는 구름 붙여게 추게 선졌다고 네베 유 베베 유라 마보셔레 데 나네 베베 유 탐제게 초도교가 Pemakada, Kembajong, also what Kembajong, Drejong, Remojong, Kembajong, Kembajong. The Kembajong, the Tribet, Chembo, Thousand Namka Jingbegi, then Bene Goche number copy. Then the somebody, Chino Chimoshita, then it did holler. 타오다게 나한테 다 더솔단데 Kyabje Dudjom 무시게 샤본 카삽 나요레 텔레시데 디 사웨 르즈 소두게 레전 tersenla terge desen ni요레 그 진지 털로 쓰는 다 렌즈 소드 쓰는 지 되게 대선 შემ보 니예가 나는데 렌즈 소드 콜 되대요는데 사실 무치노 무시라래.
The last of the practices that we will be doing together today is that of the mountain of burnt offerings. This is the longest text, and we'll be going outside to perform that. First of all, this text, the Mountain of Burnt Offerings, originates in Sikkim. And Guru Rinpoche, once again, is responsible in some way for this text, in that he hid sacred places on the face of this earth that would be opened at the date when the land of Tibet was threatened by destruction from what he called barbaric forces. And there were two main sacred areas of sacred ground that Guru Rinpoche concealed to be revealed at a later date, and one is called Pemukut, which is on the border between Tibet and Assam, and there is this area in which we know as in English as Sikkim. And there was a great master by the name of Lhatsen Namkha Jigme. If we just have here his name as Lhatsen, first in the front page here, Lhatsen Namkha Jigme. And it was at the time that this treasure revealer, following Guru Rinpoche's prophecy, opened up this area of sacred ground which we know as Sikkim, making it part of the experience of ordinary sentient beings, that he spoke these words that became this text of the Mountain of Burnt Offerings. And there are two main treasures that were revealed in Sikkim at this time. They are the main treasure texts related to that area. One is called the life force of the awareness holders, and the other is called the clouds of the suddenly arising song of realization. And this text forms part of the former collection of treasure texts, the life force of the awareness holders. And so therefore this text itself has great blessing, and there are parts of this text that were added by His Holiness Dudjom Rinpoche. So not only do we have the blessed words of Guru Rinpoche and Lhatsen Namkha Jigme, but also supplemented by words and visualizations provided by His Holiness Dudjom Rinpoche.
On the Bene said, Bebe Yuchen, Ronzam Kala, Bebe, you change Zanga, Yevagin Name, the Remo John, Kemba John, Tamako Subode, John Yiko, Sum Tamja Jazz, take it to my mind by you some
John Yi.
John Yi, Remo John, Kemba John, John Yi, then Kursum, Tamako, down this somebody, Bebe, you change, you should send out Nane, Yagan means.
John Yi, Kursum, Teniki,
Tamja, the Nego de Jebe, the John Yi, Kursum, Tamja, the long dancing on the door.
On the subject of these hidden areas of sacred ground that were later revealed by treasure revealers, there were 25 that were foretold by Guru Rinpoche in the area of western Tibet, western and central Tibet. And among these there were two that have in their Tibetan name the word Jong, which is region. One of these is Sikkim. There were three that have the word Ku in their Tibetan name, and Pema Ku is one of those. There were 25 in all that Guru Rinpoche concealed, and they were later revealed by treasure revealers according to Guru Rinpoche's prophecies.
You never have a couple of some Shabbat. Then it Kyabje Rinpoche get in the Sumere, the Riwo Sang Chöd. But was it in Love Chamber your rest on the Namjun in the shadow cover? Then the so what Chamber called Yokan, then Lancha, Janya get tau yokan, So Saya get tau yokan, Damsi Nyamcha, Janya get tau yokan, the Sachimbo Yores on Kyabje Rinpoche, Hajo Nangre.
So this text was spoken by Lhasa Namkha Jigme at the time when he revealed Sikkim as being an area of sacred ground. And His Holiness Dudjom Rinpoche would often praise this text and say that it was very useful for many persons. It was useful for those who are wanting to practice Dzogchen great perfection. It's useful for those who had karmic debts to repay. It's useful for those who wished to cultivate merit and wisdom, and it's useful for those who wanted to purify negative actions or obscurations. And he would often praise this text as being extremely effective and useful text.
The Chilo Ndoya looks at your Chilo Ndoya Sangi, the Gaja Kanga, Lakeb never searching, Lakeb, not last in the toddler, Tolkeb never gets Nangatonzana. Sigure to take shed and Dudjom, Terchengi, rich Gitsela Naya said it, take Riwo Sang Chöd, Ling Tibetan said it. Then Romovichera, country you turn and dig it, they know a sound on the Dungardi, Tumo Maimba, Dungar Brina, sound Tumo Maimba romantic of you. Then of the Kanga check that. Not the Kanga Ank, Chilato.
So we'll go outside to make this mountain of burnt offerings. That's there's a tradition of doing this outside, and particularly to do it at a pass of a mountain, some place where we have wide open space. Apparently, Lhasa Namkha Jigme, when he first revealed this treasure, did so at the peak of a mountain. We offer these burnt offerings. We make these burnt offerings with the sound of music, and particularly, it is said, with the sound of conch shells for this, particularly for this practice.
Right.